This weekend celebrates a holiday to honor two notable presidents of the United States who were born in February. Abraham Lincoln on February 12th and George Washington on February 22nd. So this weekend, along with a day off school and work, we have an opportunity to reflect on great leaders of the past and their legacies. To common people like us, the experience of being a president is so far removed from our everyday lives that they might as well be an alien. Many of us are told at a young age that any of us could become president, but the reality is that it is an elite position reserved for very few in our society. To become president is considered one of the ultimate achievements in America. You see many people running for the sake of running. Wealthy people such as businessmen, celebrities, eccentrics, and some even exceed in getting elected. Promised I wouldn't make a joke. Why? Well, to become president is to write one's name in the annals of America, to become part of an exclusive group of people who wield a unique power. To be a president is to take on an impossible task and an incredible honor, and it's one that is hard for common people to relate to. Comparing our lives to others is a natural phenomenon, and it can become a source of frustration and shame, seeing what others have done and thinking oneself behind or deficient in comparison. For example, Alexander Hamilton was the same age as I am when he wrote the Federalist Papers, and here I am playing video games. Seeing others' achievements can be a motivator for ourselves in our own lives, but it can also create the illusion of deficiency in ourselves. That reaching this achievement might make us feel happy, postponing happiness as a conditional condition, eluding our grasp as something that has to be earned. The fallacy that the grass is greener on the other fence, if you will. If I had a certain job, made a certain amount of money, looked a certain way, then I'll be happy. Achievements, prestige, and recognition from peers being the markers of happiness, well, that is quickly disproven by looking to the presidents themselves. I'm sure some of you have seen those pictures comparing presidents before and after their time in office and how it ages them. How Obama ended his presidency with a head of gray hair that he didn't have before. It is a thankless, miserable position. You can do everything right and half the country will still hate you for it. George Washington, a lifelong introvert, struggled greatly with the weight of presidency and the anxiety over what it would mean for the future of the nation. During the encampment at Valley Forge, during the Revolutionary War, his doctor diagnosed him with a bout of melancholia, what we today would call depression. John Adams wrote extensively about his struggles with anxiety and depression during his political career, with modern analysts saying he might be diagnosed today with bipolar disorder. Most famously, Abraham Lincoln suffered greatly from depression. He dealt with bouts of suicidal ideation throughout his life, which led to periods where his friends and loved ones had to remove sharp objects from his house in fear he might hurt himself. Some historians say his greatness came not in spite of his mental illness, but because of it. That his defective nerves didn't shame, but rather humbled him, empowering him to confess error and grow. Sometimes, when we look at historical figures or those with prestige and power, we can forget that they were real people just like us. That power, prestige, and legacy did not exclude them from suffering, and in fact may have brought on more. As such, I think learning from these people doesn't have to be an alienating experience, but a story of the human condition and of people who overcame obstacles and connected with those around them, something relevant to our lives and inspiring. What makes a good president? If you could build a president from scratch, what personality traits would you give them? Just shout out the traits that come first to mind. Honesty, integrity, intelligence, empathy, kind, oh my goodness. Making people healthy, oh my goodness. We need to get this guy in the race. Confidence, absolutely. Competence and confidence. But above all, I think we see in cases of leaders that we admire most, they weren't the ones who were chasing it themselves, but they were people who are uplifted by their peers because their peers recognize their inherent character and their potential to change the world. What is power without purpose? It's not about fame and remembrance. It's about wanting to change the world one lives in, to help people. As Herbert Hoover said, being a politician is a poor profession. Being a public servant is a noble one. When I was young, I was a bit of a bossy child. When I read this sermon out loud to my father, he laughed at that part. Could have been from being the oldest sibling, maybe because I'm a Capricorn, who knows. I was a smart kid, yes, but also had a tendency to want to do certain things my way because I was right. And sometimes my being right trumped the feelings and knowledge of others. I also have ADHD, and my train of thought, conscious pattern, and vault of special interest facts translated to a tendency to steamroll over others. I wanted to be leader because it was my way or the highway. This is absolutely not a universal problem, and I know just as many have struggled with the opposite side of the same coin, of being shy and not taking on leadership. And of course, I can only talk from my own experience. And that experience was learning to make room for others and to share space and feelings, to engage in active listening instead of just waiting for my turn to speak, to challenge my own ideas and perceptions, and to keep an open mind to possibilities. Andrew Jackson made decisions as president, which we might now think were not good for people or for the nation, but he made a valid point when he said, "Any man worth his salt will stick up for what he believes right. But it takes a slightly better man to acknowledge instantly and without reservation that he is in error." Leadership doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is by its nature a group experience. You can't be leader all by yourself. It is a communicative relationship to others. In the case of our president, there is an even more important term for that relationship: democracy. You do not have to be president to change the world. You don't have to be the spearhead to be a part of a movement. Harry Truman said it best: "It's amazing what you can accomplish if you do not care who gets the credit." Leadership is nothing without people. And as we, the people of this nation, how can we come forward to fulfill that role? Thomas Jefferson believed deeply in the idea of civic virtue as essential for a republic. That's the phrase I want you guys to take away from today: civic virtue. As a concept, civic virtue ties in very closely with the ideals of the Age of Enlightenment, which is the birth of liberal ideas of the 17th and 18th century, the core concepts our country is built upon. It's the idea that education is the foundation of democracy, that a population that knows of history and the dangers of tyranny will be able to avoid it again in the future. It is the cultivation of habits important for success in society, the dedication to the common welfare over the individual. It is a call to action, a personal responsibility. The founding fathers wanted you, yes, you, right here, right now, to be the best version of yourself that you can be. They recognized that a nation is like a machine or an organism made up of millions of tiny parts that come together, and that we can only function if we try. That you are an essential part to this country. A country that was never guaranteed, the greatest experiment of democracy in human history. A country that our ancestors have fought for, to create and to preserve on the battlefield and at the voting booth. There is a story of a woman asking Benjamin Franklin, "Well, doctor, what have we got? A republic or a monarchy?" He replied, "A republic, if you can keep it." Barb will now lead us in our closing hymn, number 105, From Age to Age. Thank you.